All right, welcome to VMware Explore 2024, day one. We are finishing up our interviews for the day, and we are finishing with a good one. This is a good friend of the show, our good friend, Mr. Dave Morera. Mike, do you know Dave?
I do. We have met once or twice.
Yeah, Dave Morera has been around VMware for a little while. He was a bit of a storage nerd, but he's been focusing on DPUs, GPUs, basically anything that touches vSphere in any way, shape, or form. You can talk to Dave about it. Dave, welcome back.
Thanks, Pete. It's all about the accelerators now.
It's all about the accelerator.
They seem to be the new hotness these days.
Yeah, hardware's sexy again. Let me just say that. Yeah.
I like it. We're bringing the accelerators back. All right. Yeah, so Dave, I know, shameless plug, you and I are doing a session this week available on download on VMware's site for Explore, talking about demystifying GPUs and DPUs in a VMware Cloud Foundation environment. So the main question to you, Mike, is what does a DPU and a GPU have in common?
Silicon?
No, they both have a P and a U.
No, that stinks.
Good dad joke.
Yeah. My kids tell me that all the time. They're like, wow, Dad, you don't have to do dad jokes all the time. But no, obviously the offload, right? The offload, the ability to accelerate with these devices, but there's different reasons. Sometimes it's security, sometimes it's performance, cost, so there's different use cases. So
ultimately, though, it does boil down to just like needing to do multiple things at once, right?
Well, again, we're here at a podcast. We could talk about this for a half an hour. I'm sure there's a lot of other reasons like cost and maybe getting more density in your hosts and so many different reasons. But I'm putting the cart before the horse. Dave, set the foundation for us and tell us what is the value of offloading these workloads onto DPUs and GPUs.
Yep. So when I think about accelerators in VCF, I think about a race car, right? And obviously, we have McLaren. We've been sponsored by us, and Broadcom also has a different sponsor for F1, Formula One. But the way we want to get fast, right? And that's why we have the engine of the Formula One vehicle. But there's all the areas, right? We have the tires, and then we want to cut weight here and cut weight over there to make the car go even faster, right? It's not the main job of the engine to take you there, but also the other components all together. And not only just to have the components, because you can have the tires here and there, but also, how do you make them work together? And that's where VCF comes into play, right? So what we're trying to do here is just take the best of the best as far as technology goes, and be able to expose that out to the VCF environment, expose that out to the VMs and say, hey, here's what you have, here are your tools. Now you can go even faster by leveraging this. And through VCF, we're giving you the how-to and giving you the tools of putting it all together to make your infrastructure go faster.
I like that.
Faster's better.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, starting with DPUs, because I know there's been lots of announcements lately, and we're talking. This week they announced VCF 9, of course, which has a lot of advancements. But 5.2, just prior to the 9, also had some great, and that's GA. But 5.2 had some great announcements as it pertains to DPUs and GPUs. I'd love to start with the DPUs and talk a little bit about how we're enhancing our offerings for DPUs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this came out in vSphere 8 a couple of years ago. I remember very vividly announcing this. So we announced the DPU support. Not only the support, but we were able to offload services to this smart NIC. And what happened then was, people loved it, but they say, you know what? At the end of the day, this is still a NIC, and I need more than one.
Yeah.
And we've been working really hard on this. We heard our customers, and we figured, hey, you guys are absolutely right. And now we're going to give you 2 DPUs, be able to fall from one to the other one, and not just offload services, but also be able to run your network through there, make decisions, have the packets know where they're going without having to go up to the x86 CPU stack, pretty much. So in vSphere 8 Update 3, that's what we're offering now, which is pretty new, is the support for dual DPUs. And not just as a standby and active smart NICs, but also being able to use 2 separately, tied up to separate VDSs, tied up to NSX, tied up to vCenter. And again, this is why not just the DPU makes it go faster, it's just us being able to connect the dots between NSX, between ESXi, between vCenter, and offloading services to a version of ESXi running on the DPUs, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you think about that, NSX does take quite a bit of resources to run, and those resources are now being offloaded. So now we're returning that back to x86 CPUs, right? So now I can have bigger VMs, or I can have more VMs. So I have a better VM consolidation. So I can pick and choose. I can go faster, I can go bigger, just by offloading that. I'm not really spending any additional licensing when it comes to VCF, but I just bought a NIC that was a little bit more expensive, but it's a NIC that is very, very smart, and I'm able to let it do its work.
So when you say offloading, like what is it? What's the kind of use case? Like what is it doing that normally the CPU would have to do on its own?
Right. So the DPU is actually acting as a mini host per se, right? And so the host, when you have NSX, you go out and install the agents, the NSX agents on it, and it will run the intelligence. Hey, figure out what packets go where and do the intelligence. And now the DPU is going to be doing all this instead of the x86, right? So now we're running a version of ESXi, we're running NSX agents on it, just like a host would. And the cool thing about this is that we don't have to worry about, and this is a question we get all the time, customers say, oh, now we have another ESXi instance, now I have another NSX instance.
Management.
Yeah.
Who's going to manage this?
Who's going to manage this? Am I going to see additional hosts? I don't want to see 30,000 hosts in one vCenter, right? Yeah. But the cool thing is that we take all that operational headache away from them because we kind of hide it in a way, and not just because we want to hide it, but because you don't need to worry about this. Because we think about DPUs as the children of the host. Whether you have one or two, hey, anything you apply to the host is going to propagate down. So ESXi imaging, when you install ESXi, we push it down to the DPU. When you install NSX, we leverage VLCM and push that down to the DPU as well. So you don't have to worry about anything. You do an update, guess what? VLCM kicks in, it knows it has a DPU, and it pushes that down to the DPU. So it's pretty easy as far as the operations go. So, low-level touch as far as management, but you're getting all the benefits of offloading and getting that performance, VM consolidation, and all that additionally on top of VCF.
Very
Sounds
nice.
smart.
Yeah, and I know there's been a lot ever since last year when Chris Wolf walked on stage and started talking about VMware Private AI. And forget about Chris Wolf. I mean, when NVIDIA came and started talking just about what they're doing, how they're working with VMware, but just they're blowing up this year, and everybody's getting involved in AI and taking advantage of these very expensive but very powerful graphics accelerators. So and I know we're doing that with our VMware Private AI Foundation, but as it pertains to the actual GPUs themselves, how have things changed as it pertains to vSphere?
Yeah, one cool thing about GPUs with the G, now we're switching to the G now.
Yes.
It's that, again, it's not just having a GPU installed on a PCIe, right, at slot. There's how we're going to take advantage of it. It could be straight pass-through, but we don't really gain much because then I can pass it directly to a VM. I know that, the capabilities of using that somewhere else in a different VM is gone. vMotion is gone, HA is gone, right? But we have taken that a step further and being able to take a GPU and say, okay, now I'm going to share this with you as a VM, with you as a VM, and you as a VM. So now we have
you get a VM,
and you get a GPU. That's right.
There you go.
But that's the cool thing, right? We can split it up. We can do time sharing, things like that. And in vSphere 8 Update 3, now we can have different profiles assigned to the same GPU so that, hey, if you are a VDI VM, you can use your VDI profile. If you are an AI ML VM, you can have the same GPU, but now you have a different profile. So now we can split it up, not just per VM, but also per different profiles. So we don't have to have the same profile per GPU, which is pretty cool. And another cool thing that we're doing is sort of a DRS, being able to, I call it defragmentation of GPUs. So if you think, it kind of reminds me of the old.
Yeah. I can see it in my head right now.
It's a very ASMR, right? You
Yes.
look at it, oh, that's pretty cool. Look at that. But now we have, for example, if I have a host with 4 GPUs each, and I have 3 VMs using 2 GPUs, right? Each VM is going to be located into one of those hosts. But if I add another VM with 4 GPUs, it's going to say, okay, there's no resources.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go. You guys are taking half of each host. I don't know where to go. So DRS will kick in vSphere 8 Update 3 and say, okay, I know what's happening. I got you. And it's going to move one of those VMs to a different host and open up those 4 GPUs for this new VM to be able to be placed in that location, be powered on, and be okay. So that was not possible in previous versions. This is possible now in Update 3.
I like it. Well, that is the short and sweet update on what's going on with DPUs, GPUs. What else are you doing this week at Explore?
So I'm doing some sessions. I'm doing I was just talking to Intel, which is another accelerator, right? So, we talk about DPUs, GPUs, but also don't forget about CPUs.
The other PU.
The other PUs, yeah, those still matter. And what Intel is doing specifically, they have an accelerator built in on the chip. I don't know if you guys are familiar with AMX, the Advanced Matrix Extensions, and that's you mentioned AI, and that allows people to run AI workloads within a CPU without having to spend a lot of money on GPUs, right? Now, if you have a use case, maybe it's not maybe it's just a nice chatbot. I have a few users that we want to use it in a small business or a bigger business. They're able to leverage those advanced matrix extensions to run their LLMs or to run the different types of AI without having to expand.
So you can run full LLMs on there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we did a paper with Intel not too long ago, exposing, doing a test, and we have some interesting results on the CPU with AMX Intel, which is pretty neat. One thing to focus on is that they have this available on, I think it's generation 4 and 5, so it's Sapphire Rapids, Emerald Rapids, and some people go out and they upgrade to vSphere 8 update 3. They have their 4th generation and they say, "Where's the AMX? I don't see it anywhere." So what we're noticing is that they always forget to go a step further when they're doing their upgrade, and they forget to do their VMware tools, and they forget to do their hardware, virtual hardware upgrades as well, right? So that is being exposed as part of hardware version 21, right? Just like we're exposing more pass-through devices, right? Just like we're exposing more vGPUs. So it is important for customers to understand, hey, it's not just upgrade to the latest version of vSphere, but also keep it going, right, to the virtual hardware version.
Yeah, you got to put the new tires on if you got the new wheels,
exactly, right? You got to put all the components together to make that infrastructure go faster.
That is good stuff.
I think admins are thrilled with the ability to deliver these new services to their environment, which I'm sure they're getting pressured on. So I think it's a great solution.
Well, the funny thing is that sometimes they don't think about what they have, and they're thinking just, what's the next curve I have to take, but they don't look at, how the Formula One car is being tuned, right? Yeah. Which there's something easily they can do. They have all the resources, they just spend a little more time there and tune it up. And
it's pretty amazing what a little optimization can do.
Absolutely. Dave Morera, always bringing the good stuff. Thank you for joining us on Virtually Speaking, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, Vic.
All right.